Today's event will include an update on Concern Worldwide's emergency response in Turkey and Syria following the devastating earthquakes of the 6th of February, just over a year ago today. Today's event will also share the work of our teams on the ground to address the humanitarian needs of the many communities impacted by these earthquakes, and how we continue to assist with recovery, thanks to your support. Our speakers today are Admir and Begum, joining us from Concern's office in Gaziantep in Turkey, and Colin, Concern's desk officer for Turkey and Syria, who's based here in Dublin, who's going to be hosting our Q&As. We're going to share a short video with you now on our response in Turkey and Syria before I hand over to Admir and Begum. Wow. So after this brief visual reminder, I'm going to hand over to Admir and Begum to share our update today. Over to you.
Thanks, Justine. It gives me a great, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you all as the supporters. Hello from Gaziantep. My name is Admir Bayrami, and I'm a program director for Türkiye and Syria here at Concern Worldwide.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. This is Begum from Concern Worldwide Turkey team. I work as program coordinator. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Begum. Just seeing this video, it brings so many memories of both the implementation, but also of the devastating earthquake that happened a year ago. We thought maybe we're gonna start this by sharing a little bit of our personal stories of how it went. And then we'll talk a little bit about the support and response that we mounted thanks to your generous support. So personally for me, I'm originally from Australia, but been working in Turkey, and I live in the apartment block, which is 10 floor big. I live on the 5th floor. Last year, what happened was at about 4 a.m., 4:17, what happened is my bed started shaking violently as a consequence of the earthquake. And I knew what it was, but it was a bit of a confusion because it woke me up. The thing that I vividly remember is the grounding sound, and it's just an absolute difficulty to actually make it from my bedroom to all the way to the corridor. The things were falling off the bookshelves, the cupboards were opening. It was quite dramatic. So in my pajamas, as soon as it was over, I made my way out, and there was a sheer panic. All of the residents from the building were going downstairs, and with babies, we're speaking about elderly people, people carrying their pets like cats, dogs, whoever had anything. Things were being dropped like beanies, socks. It was surreal, something that difficult to forget. And we could see all the cracks on the walls as we were using the stairs because we couldn't use elevators. Now coming out, just for you to understand better, the fact was that it was February and it was pretty cold, -1 or 0 with with a bit of a snow. So immediately when I came out, I checked the database that tells us how bad the earthquake was, and it really scared me because in 20 years working in humanitarian response and emergencies, I could tell it was very big. And I let my family and friends know that I'm okay, and then I proceeded finding out how my colleagues were. It's very interesting that, you know, at the time I was thinking I didn't do my dishes, I didn't do things that are really small and maybe insignificant, but it put the picture. It was very grim, but very soon I knew what's happening. How did it go for you, Begum?
It was interesting in a way, let's say. I moved to Şanlıurfa. I moved to Syrian border city 3.5 years ago. My family, my friends, everyone is living in Istanbul, where I was living prior to that. And my story is a bit different from the stories of my other colleagues who were actually born in this area, because Istanbul is an earthquake zone area that I grew up with this idea. In schools, like starting from the primary school, middle school, high school, basically, they were teaching us what to do, what not to do, you know, how to stay away. All these information was running through my brain. I remember that they were teaching us this, but when actually those things happen, it is hard to remember those stuff. Yeah, that's for sure. I remember that I woke up, I was unable to leave my bed, feeling that it's a strong shake, but also I remember that this tickling voice that I was having some drinks prior to that night, so the glass was keep hitting to the wall. I remember that noise that making me crazy. I had to leave this bed, you know, I have to take this glass. I remember going to the living room, which is my kitchen and living room all together. I took the glass, standing in the middle of the room. I know what not to do. I know that I should not go near to the window. I should stay away from the kitchen cabinet. I should not go to the stairs if it's already past like 10 seconds or something. I just don't know. I just don't remember what to do. Like all the don'ts are hitting there, but what to do is just, that's a bit paralyzing. It was like a minute later, it was done. My neighbors and we were all running out. I remember that I didn't put my phone to charge that night, so it was 52%. I was like, I should have put this on the charger that night, you know. Took my laptop, took my phone, went outside, same picture, like everyone was in panic, running away, don't know what to do, where to go. It was super cold, the electricity, the power went off, people got scared even more. Remember checking the level of the magnitude. Basically I was like 7.7 sounds super scared that I have no idea what will come after that. Tomorrow will be a scary day for sure. Finally, we found some shelter under an open bazaar, basically, like all my neighbors and the whole neighborhood went there. I received and sent a couple of messages. One was to my sister. Sis, you will wake up at 8 o'clock. Please make sure that my parents are not freaking out. I'm fine. My building is fine. I'm outside. My phone might die. If you cannot contact me because of the all reception and everything, please do not freak out. And then my line manager, the people that I am supervising, checking each other, our local partners that we have been working forever, and those local partners, I know that they are near to the epicenter, telling them, we are doing the head count, you should do your head count, make sure that your stuff is okay, make sure that they don't need anything immediately, and if they need, contact us. We will try our best. We just don't know what is happening right now either. An hour later, trying to figure out what was happening among all this chaos, one of the shops who has a generator, they served us tea. They came and they just served us tea. And this region that we are obsessed with tea. Tea is something super comforting with us, you know. We drink tea after food, we drink tea for every occasion, for every celebration, every sadness. So this first sip, I was like feeling warm, something familiar, something I know for sure. It was like a great feeling. And then at that point, the first decision we make, as soon as possible, we are sure that our team is safe, and we were super lucky. We were super lucky that our team was safe. And as soon as we are sure that our team is safe, their families and relatives are safe, We are checking the community centers that we had like 9 of them at that time, all around the region. We are checking the community centers. If they are fine, if they are able to operate, we are going to make some tea, because people will be in need of something familiar. People will be in need of someone to hug, someone to say hi, someone to talk, and those community centers are that for. So the first decision of the response, let's make some tea.
Thanks, Begum. Yeah, you're right. And as we were waiting in the local shop, at least for me, people were all pinned to the TVs, and we could just see horrible images coming out of the news, and a very bad death toll that just kept rising. And that's when we realized that this is pretty big. So as part of the presentation, we thought we will provide you with a presentation. Can you confirm if you can see my screen, Colin? Thank you. So the day after, because it was still at night, what we saw is in our neighborhoods and in our vicinity, there were apartment blocks and buildings that completely collapsed. There was a search and rescue happening. There's a lot of commotion, family members and relatives being around, being worried about their loved ones, neighbors. So it was quite distressing images. And what you see is one of the images that shows bulldozers that proceeded working for quite many days, trying to save everyone who needed assistance. And that's when emergency responses rushed in from different countries. One thing that was very good, to put it in a perspective, a good thing, that we as a concern worldwide were already present in Turkey. We've been working here since 2013. Initially to support the refugee influx from Syria. So what that made us and allowed us is to immediately start with the response to both Turkey and Syria. To give you a bit of a understanding of what happened, there's a map on the screen, and as you can see, there's epicenter was right between the two countries, or the epicenter was within Turkey, but it also affected Syria. What you see in dark color was the epicenter and many tremors that followed. And those were the areas that were hardest hit. And then you have a bit of like an orange color and the effect it had. Now, when you think of Turkey as a country, it's a country that has 85 to 90 million people, while Syria before the war had about 24 million people. So we're speaking about area that has been with large population. You're looking at probably 15 million people that were in this region affected in great so many ways.
And also, we always forget to mention that we were hit by 2 earthquakes actually within the 12 hours. So the next earthquake, it was actually pretty close to the previous epicenter, which affected the buildings. They were already affected by the first earthquake. And imagine the chaos that people were feeling, that just thinking that after like 10 hours or something, you might get calmed down a bit. And then second really hard earthquake, 7.6 again, just hitting. It was like, it was this feeling of this, will this ever end? You know, can we start to function again in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. And then after that, I mean, that's when further buildings started collapsing. And what followed was 2,000 to 3,000 tremors that were continuously. There was still a bit of tremors happening, just making everyone worried and going into panic modes at some stage. So this is the big picture in terms of how big the magnitude was. Now, I used another map here with Begum to show you. In blue color is the size of the island in comparison to the area. And actually, if you look at the hardest hit area where the epicenter was, if we were to place the map of Ireland, it would correspond. So you can imagine if the entire country was hit and affecting over 15 million people. I know Ireland has about 5 million, but just to show the magnitude of how many people were affected. So quite huge numbers. I'll go through more details, but just wanted to show you one of the photos here of the satellite images. On the right side is what it looked before, and then on the left side is an aerial image of showing the houses that have, or apartment blocks that have collapsed. One point to make here is that all of these buildings on the left, a year after they have been all cleaned and further removed the debris. So now they're just empty spaces that that show the towns as ghost towns and a little bit worrying. So to give you some stats, 11 provinces were affected. Total population of affected areas 19 million people. Now in Turkey, you had emergency response and influx to the refugees that came from Syria, but also Syria was affected. That has been going through conflict with a lot of internally displaced people who live in that area in northwest Syria. And they were also being affected. We're looking at 56,000 casualties in both Turkey and Syria, 50 in Turkey, an additional 6,000 in Syria. It's 200,000 buildings that were heavily damaged or destroyed. So as you can see in the photo is one example of how these buildings looked alike at the time, and some devastating images from different parts.
True.
I'll move to the next section. I like this photo. Personally, what I have experienced in those early days, there was no water, no heating. Shelters were full, so people couldn't go to all of the shelters. Some people were sleeping in the mosques, but majority of people were actually sleeping in their cars for those who had an opportunity, and it was very cold. So great solidarity between people. People were sharing whatever they had, kitchen soups, and not much happening, but whatever we had, we were actually sharing amongst each other. Any comments from you, Begum, in terms of how it was in the beginning?
The beginning was chaotic, I must say. We know that, I mean, we are experienced team. We know that what this response would look like. We also knew that like people on the street are scared. They need any sort of help, basically any sort of support that we can provide. I know that and you know, when the response, it's been a year since the earthquake, so our response has changed, the needs of the people has changed, but in the immediate aftermath, it was like the most basic things. People were looking for shelter, clothes, and food, like the most basic things, and gas, so that the rescue mission can continue and we can have power. Also, those power is, we were also in need to continue our work, start our work, reach out to communities, network with people, with the local authorities. We know that UN response will be there, so we're in contact with the UN agencies and the relevant coordination bodies that will show up. But also we are proud to say, in a way, that we were on the street from the very beginning. Actually, our teams were already on their way to different cities, both to support partners, but also to support their loved ones. Therefore, we were like all around the region, like in a 24 hours, we were all around the region, bringing stories, taking photos, doing need assessment, reaching out like different people and the different organizations and institutions. It was definitely needed at that time. And we were part of like establishment of those coordination bodies and also the response phase, the initial response that was definitely needed. And again, we were extremely lucky that we were not hit as bad as many other regions, or let's say the provinces. Therefore, we were able to, you know, sit in an office, continue in an office environment if needed, have semi-stable internet connection, and then, you know, to continue our work in that sense.
Yeah, so that helped us a lot. I mean, being present, we moved into the response sectors. So immediately we were able to start our protection work, our education, support the communities with water and sanitation. As you may imagine, that if someone loses home, or even if your building was already damaged or standing, we were not allowed to go back because of the continuous tremors, not knowing when it's going to hit again. So it was a hazard to actually go back. So we and the people were having to stay on the streets and needed toilets, needed showers, needed great many things, from blankets, food. So we immediately mounted our response to support everyone. I've named here the sectors that we were working in. And we'll go probably photo by photo to give you some examples of how what we did in the process. Want to speak about this photo?
That's me over there, basically. So before the earthquake, we had 9 community centers in Gaziantep, Malatya, Adıyaman, and Şanlıurfa, both owned by Concern and our local partners. And we had Hatay was also part of our response area directly as Concern. So we had these areas, we had this network, but we also had to be there, present there, and be flexible and respond. For the first picture on the left is basically, this is our office kitchen, the office kitchen that we are normally like microwave our lunches. That kitchen turned into food court, basically, that we were supporting 600 households for a week at least, until they eat something other than lentil soup. So we were cooking pasta and chicken, rice, and those kind of stuff to give something different to the people, basically. Our team over there is just cooking and packing. On the right, it was a Wednesday, the second or third day of the earthquake. We were in Adıyaman trying to, reach out to coordination bodies and walking around the streets trying to understand. We met this refugee family who came to Adıyaman, who came to Turkey actually 20 days ago from the Afghanistan border. They found a shelter at that time, but now they were like not speaking any language, not knowing anyone, just sitting and waiting and hoping that something better might happen. We were lucky to reach out to them. They were lucky that we had staff who were speaking Farsi, so we were able to, understand each other and make sure that they are safe and they have a shelter afterwards. These were just, that one was just pure luck, by just being on the street, basically, to reaching out those.
Yeah, and one thing that happened also, that in the process, multitude of different actors were supporting with bead tents in a more organized way, but also there were people who were far away or more in the outskirts who were not getting support. And maybe you can tell us about this photo with the tractor.
Sure. That photo is like somehow like symbolically explains what we were doing throughout the response. So the Irish aid response, first of all, I must add it, Irish aid response was amazing. Like, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. We were waiting for this aid plane to, come to Turkey and everything. It was like a good point of the really hard day. But apart from that, the whole motto was for Concern Turkey team to make sure that we are filling the gaps. We know that there will be easy to access areas, and we know that there are some areas, because of the winter conditions, because of the infrastructure or the situation of the roads, or the time and the, better use of the source, or many things, basically, not many organizations or the other actors might not willing to go. We were ready. So basically, we were asking, what do we need? In some cases, in some provinces, there were lots of aids, but no people or no cars to distribute them, to do the last mile. So we were ready. If you need cars, we have cars. If you need people, we have people. If there's a village that people needs in tents, whatever vehicle we can find, including this, we will go there, no problem. So for us, it was like mobility to everywhere, to reach out and make sure that we are leaving no one behind, as we say in Concern, basically, leaving no one behind.
It's amazing. I mean, you can see the mud on the tractor because it goes through some tough areas. You can see the snow. What gets me about some of the pictures, the woman on the left is barefoot, and I mean, there was very little, and it was very cold weather, so everything was needed. In addition, I mentioned water and sanitation as part of the response. And immediately, because people needed potable water, something they can drink, so we immediately started providing the water tanks. On your left side, you can see one of our wash technical people who is testing the water, installing them. But also we were installing latrines and toilets, which you can see on the right side, just so people have access to basic hygiene, pretty much. It was everything from scratch to support the communities. Also, I'll move. We provided also food basket. And, I mean, think about nappies from the non-food items. You can see there's a box with different sort of type of food. So from oil to rice to everything that people needed to continue with their lives.
Our response basically had like, again, protection and education sectors. We were already responding for the refugee influx. Basically, we continue to work on those areas because we know that going back to normal is something we definitely needed, and education is one part of it. Our protection program started to have PSS activities, psychosocial support for both children and adults, seeing them as individuals and understanding and listening, either structured way or totally informal, unstructured way, just to talk, you know, just to ask how they're doing, how they are holding up. The items that we procured include like kitchen items to tents to water tanks and the many other items that we mentioned, to make sure that they are able to, the people that we are supporting are able to continue their regular life actually. And what we know is that the needs are changing. Maybe we can move to the second slide as well. Next slide. So those cities, these tent areas that we have seen so far are a lot less, we must say. There still exist, the tent areas still exist, but they're a lot less than this. Now we have large container cities, like tens of thousands of container cities. People are living in these temporary settlement areas, trying to make living there basically. Though some areas are formal, some of them are informal. Of course, the situation is changing, but the needs are changing as well. Now we are not distributing hot foods or hot meals, but we are not distributing food baskets either, but providing cash, for instance, to some households so that they can buy whatever they need according to their own special needs, actually. Yeah. Things like that.
So I think, yeah, it's a very good point that you mentioned, Begum. I think initially when we were giving food is because it was very much needed through general distribution. But when we did the assessment, we checked when the markets started working, we were offering to people cash so they can go and purchase the food for themselves. Or in some cases, we were providing cash cards so people can go to the supermarket and buy the most essential items.
Including hygiene materials, including their materials for the babies or elderly people and everyone, basically, because we know that it is not just the people that we see, but in the households, there are multiple people with multiple needs.
Correct. Also, we were helping people who, from the protection perspective, let's say if they needed a referral to go to another hospital, or where they need special treatment through the hospitals, we were facilitating the transport and referring these patients who needed much needed support. The reason why I also like this photo is, I mean, it's been a year. So I've been talking about snow, but during the summer, it's been the hottest days. You've probably experienced them yourselves. What's been happening is we've been continuously having over 40 degrees temperatures. It was so hot, particularly under these tents. It was suffocating just to stay in the tents. The needs were great. And when I say this, I'm thinking equally for both Türkiye and for people who were in Syria, and they were also receiving assistance. Now, as Begum was saying, there's less informal sites. There's more container areas that have been provided by AFAD or the government, and people are now moved into the containers. It doesn't mean that everything is solved. There's a great level that people have to go through as they move towards recovery or sorting their lives and bringing them back to normal. And we're trying to bridge that gap by continuously providing assistance. But from the emergency perspective, Thank you very much on behalf of Concern Turkey. I mean, thanks to your support, we were able to mount the response and assist. I don't know, would you like to add anything, Begum, or?
Definitely. I mean, the response is ongoing for sure. We are saying that it's been a year, thinking that a year is such a long time, but actually it is not, considering that how to build a life from the scratch, basically after losing your loved ones, but also your network, also your additional sources as well. It is not easy for the people, not easy for their mental health, not easy for their survival, and also like taking care of each other. This is a really hard process that people are having. Yes, the needs are changing, but still there. So let's say the needs for the container is less. There is not requested or not asked from us. But for instance, for the access to clean and safe hygiene products, or like the toilets and showers, is still an ongoing issue, for instance. And I believe it will stay as an ongoing issue until, there are like more major infrastructural changes. And also there are some other areas that will definitely need support. For instance, livelihood related areas. It is not just the buildings of the residential area, but also commercials also destroyed. Many people lost their livestock, lost their offices, like daily work that they were making income for their families and themselves does not exist anymore. Therefore, people are in need of like trying to find their livelihood options. That's also one of the major things that we need to focus on. And also everything that we built together for the refugee community as well. When there's another crisis, we know that those issues are also retackled from the beginning, including like the documentation issues, the school continuation, the education needs. Basically, they're still ongoing. And even though we passed the emergency stage, we need to work on the resilience building part, and also make sure that what we are doing is sustainable, and we'll continue to support the people who are living still in this region.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Perhaps to give you a perspective, even the tents that you see, for example, at one stage they were closer to their homes, but now they're not. There's no city centers in some cases. I mean, think of ourselves, we all have a barber shop or a hairdresser. We have the vegetable shop and different places where we go, where we have our routines, going to work, mingling with people. But now nothing exists. Everything is fresh. It's in a completely new setup, which still carries a lot of resemblance of a distress or just something temporarily fixed, and there's yet time to go. But as a concern worldwide, we continue being with the people, understanding how they have been affected. Everyone has been affected. Think about Hatay. If they didn't lose someone, they know someone who's been lost, or some of them have lost a great many people. We're all trying to go through it together. I think, I mean, it's been tough, but it's been a very good response. I want to thank our partners in so many ways. It's not just about having a transactional partnership where you give something to a local organization for them to deliver. We have truly been partners, and everyone has been working like one organization and trying to do our best to support each other, and also those that we're committed to.
We came so far so good.
Yeah, no, it's been good, but I think I mean, as a team, we can tell you so many stories. It's always the personal stories that usually get us, the little children that we meet, the individual stories that always break our hearts. But I think we want to allow you some room to actually say some of the questions, perhaps if you have any.
Let's see,
Justine, I don't know, we can't see the comments.
Thank you so much, Admir and Begum, for this insight into Concern's emergency response. Thank you to your teams, thank you to your partners for supporting the needs of all the people in Turkey and Syria that you helped over this past year. I think it's really clear the huge scale of devastation is just staggering numbers. 56,000 casualties, 200,000 buildings destroyed, millions affected, 3,000 tremors. I mean, goodness. I've also got to say a huge thank you to all of you on the call today who supported our Turkey and Syria earthquake appeal, or who continue to support our ongoing work to help people in extreme poverty across all the countries that Concern operates within. We absolutely could not continue to do our work without your support. If you'd like to find out more about what we are doing and what we're continuing to do in Turkey and Syria, we will share a link in our chat shortly. And also, if you're interested in supporting or donating to our continued work in Turkey and Syria, we'll also share a link to this in our chat now. But it is time for our Q&As. So as a quick reminder for everyone who's joined us today, we're happy to respond to your questions about our emergency response. Please just drop a message into the chat. You'll find the little chat icon at the bottom of your screen. And if for any reason we run out of time and your question remains unanswered, please don't worry. Rest assured, we will follow up with you directly with a response. But I'm now going to hand over to Colin to host our Q&As with Admir and Begum. So please do, any questions for our wonderful speakers, pop them in the chat now.
Thanks, Justine, and thanks to Admir and Begum for sharing their experience over the last year. So I have a question here from Jenny, and I'll throw this to Admir. So Admir, what difference did it make for Concern to have an already long-standing relationship with the communities in Turkey and in Syria?
Would you like me to?
Yeah, go. Yeah,
sure. As you mentioned that we had these 9 community centers all over the region, basically, and then local partners that we are working there. Our program was continuing for the last 10 years. So we had connection with the local stakeholders from the different ministries, their different provincial levels and the district levels. And also we had a huge connection with the communities that we were serving. Most of the refugee communities, because our purpose, Concern's existence in Turkey was through the Syria refugee influx from Syria, but also the other refugee groups like Iraqis, Iranians, many others, and Afghanis as well. But yeah, so we had these people that we have been serving for over a decade. And one of the first things that we were doing actually to call them, to check how they are doing. That was like the initial access to the communities actually. The ones, they already know us and they were like ongoing relationship with us. They were already coming to the community center and seeking for support. But the ones who are a bit far away or who are puzzled in a way, we were reaching out to them, asking what they need, letting them know that how they can reach us, letting them know that we are here and we are operating. So for the beneficiary side, it was definitely needed, and I believe that we used it very well in order to create this connection after the earthquake. So the first connection, the networks, we are still there, you are still there, we are fine, and we are going to be okay. This was the first thing. And also for the other, the networks that we were creating, of course, we had to refresh some of them. In some areas, for instance, in the areas that only our partners were working at that time before the earthquake, we had to go there, introduce ourselves. Look, you know our local partner here. You guys have been working for the last 5 years, 6 years with our local partners for refugees, right? As Concern, we are ready to support. We are ready to second in our team here so that we can answer the needs, because we know that the need will be huge. We know that our partners will need support as well. So whatever you need, whatever network we can create, we were actually jumping in. Also, in a way, we were lucky again. We were based in Şanlıurfa and we had this great connection in Şanlıurfa, and many public officials in Şanlıurfa also appointed to the earthquake areas that we can directly get into contact with right again. Remember us? We were working in Şanlıurfa together. Now we are here with you. We are ready to support you. We are ready to support the same people you are supporting. So let's do it together, kind of an approach. I think all those connections both smoothed our way and also increased our access for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Begum, and thanks to Jenny for the question. From working in humanitarian emergencies, where I was deployed in different emergencies in the aftermath of any catastrophic event, be it Haiti, be it Nepal, in terms of earthquakes, or any of the flash floods and droughts. Sometimes when you come to the country, you need to reestablish all the connections with networks and different people so you can start and mount a response. In this case, we knew the people. And also the interesting thing was that everyone wanted not to be seen as a helpless victim or a survivor in this case, but rather as someone who's contributing and helping in so many great ways based on their capacities, which they did. So getting in touch with the people that we already knew kind of gave the purpose to everyone. Let's do something about this, and let's activate ourselves. So, and thanks to our colleagues from the HQ who were ready to support us from that end, because we have little knowledge about how to raise funds. So they were all working tirelessly to bring the information to the Irish public, to tell them what is happening based on. So we were all working like a mini clock in a different ways. And I think being in the right place at the right time helped us do it much faster. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you both. And I think we've one final question as we're running out of time here. But we've a question from Siobhan. So you've already mentioned the ongoing response. So I think we've talked a lot about that. But what are the priorities for Turkey and Syria going forward, and what are the future plans?
Thanks. So yeah, so we are looking into different aspects of the different sectors. So what usually follows is start with the emergency response, and then the needs are changing. As Begum was saying, there's still needs, but they're different. So we're transitioning from the emergency phase and trying to activate people from livelihoods, education, and protection. The needs are still great. We're not focusing specifically on non-food items, but depending on what situation it is. So for example, during the winter crisis, although people had the containers, we will helping them with winterization, where we were providing tarpaulins to cover the containers so they don't get too cold. But looking forward, it's protection and education, and we're looking at livelihoods. Anything from your end, Begum?
I mean, just 2 weeks ago, 5 container cities were flooded in one of the affected areas. You know, and when there's a large emergency happens, and when we have this huge resettlement, basically, another small change, another small emergency is just directly affecting many people at once, and considering the scarcity of the sources and the scarcity of the market, that there's definitely need for like a bit forecasting, before seeing actually for what might come and what kind of sources we have and what we can do. Currently, the sustainable response will be focusing on livelihood, focusing on protection and education related areas, but also we have to be agile, flexible enough to respond every other small emergency over there, because all this small stuff is actually changing the life of people overnight. That's how we experienced it, you know, from exactly a year ago.
Yeah, it was too big. Thanks, Siobhan. It's a good question. You know, thinking in retrospect, lots of good things have happened, but the size and the magnitude of this has been so great. There are still some needs that we will be following. We're trying to maintain what we built, all of the toilets, all of the showers, because sometimes the fittings, due to the temperatures and everything that is happening, they may be needing some maintenance. So we're still present and doing everything. You've done a great work. Thanks to everyone for the support, and you know, at the same time, what we're trying to do is maintain everything.
Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you for our speakers today. Colin, thank you, and Admir Bayrami and Begum Agdogan. Thank you from all of us at Concern Worldwide for attending today. Thank you for your continued support, and thank you for your interest in Concern. Goodbye.